Welcome to Navigating the Mess with me, your host, Leah Nistico. I'm here to inspire you to find greatness in your life amidst all the chaos. Join me while I talk about my real life stories and finding out who I truly am beneath all the challenges life can throw you. Let's find connection in our chaos. Hi, welcome back. For so many years, I was stuck in the mindset of why is this happening to me? Or why did this happen to me? I was so stuck in overthinking and overanalyzing every single situation to try and figure it out. I was exhausting myself. You will never understand people no matter what you do. It just won't happen. You're not going to understand why they do the things that they did and why they chose to do it even though it hurt you. A simple switch of the mindset from why is this happening to me or why did this happen to me to this happened to me, this happened for me for a reason. And it's up to me to figure out what that reason is and what that lesson is and to learn it. It's hard enough as it is to parent children, let alone having to do it with built up trauma and grief from the past, from your childhood. Parenting with all that trauma and grief is super hard to do, super triggering, but it also can be healing. I didn't experience the type of grief that you experience when you lose a parent. The type of grief that I experienced was growing up in a home and feeling unwanted and that I was a burden to everyone around them. The other type of grief that I dealt with was the grief of being abandoned by my father, being unwanted in that relationship as well. The feeling of being replaced. When I remember back to when I was a child, nobody wanted to be around me. Whenever I wanted to be around everybody, I just felt like a burden. That's the type of grief that I carry around every single day. That's the type of grief that I don't want my children to experience. Grief and trauma. Trauma from the incidents that I carry around every day. My childhood shaped me to be the parent that I am today. I'm forever grateful for that. I could have gone the total other direction. I could have done the same thing my parents did to me. But the trick to what I did differently, I put myself in kids' shoes. Because sometimes the situations are very similar to the ones that I had growing up. I need to regulate my emotions. That's another thing that I learned. Regulating my emotions and not immediately jumping into using my triggers and getting angry right away in the situation. I don't think anyone in my house knew how to regulate their emotions, parents or children. Whenever there was a disagreement, it was a fight. You're fighting to the death, basically, for your opinion and your stance and to be right. You're fighting to be right. And that's what I was taught as a kid. I thought that was normal. Now, becoming a parent, I realized that my child is its own person. It's not little me. I'm not watching me growing up. I'm watching my child grow up. I think that is sometimes what my parents didn't understand. The grief and the trauma that I had from losing my dad follows me every single day. It's not that he passed away. He's still alive, but it's the fact that he's still alive and doesn't want to have a relationship with me. That's the grief. Both my parents are still alive and they don't want to have a relationship with me. There's the grief. Feeling extremely unwanted and abandoned by your own parents. Your family is supposed to be supportive, protective, compassionate, loving, always there. I've never experienced that from my own family. That's the grief that I carry with me every single day. And because of that grief, I chose to parent differently. I chose to create the loving family that I've always wanted in my life. And I've created it. I've created it for me, my husband, our children. I never wanted them to grow up in a home that feels like you're in fight or flight, that feels like at any moment you need to fight for yourself. One loud crash and you jump. Is this a time where I need to protect myself, or did somebody just drop a dish? I didn't want that for my kids. I know how it feels. And that's exactly why I chose differently for my kids. But I didn't realize the impact it would have, not only for my children and their life, for their confidence and self-esteem and self-worth, but also for me while doing it. It is both hard, triggering, and healing at the same time. Is it hard? Extremely hard. It is extremely hard to parent a different way from what you had. It's extremely hurtful, but it heals a little part inside of you. Giving your kids what you never had hurts on so many levels. Seeing my husband be the best dad that he can be for our children and seeing him be the dad that I've always wanted to our kids is like, I chose right. I chose right. I made the right decision. But also on a day where I have a lot of grief, seeing that can hurt and put you in a mindset of, how come I couldn't have that? I'm going my entire life without ever having had a relationship with any type of father figure. I could have had it, and I could have had two different opportunities where it could have been different. One opportunity would have been if my dad did want to have a relationship with me, and it ended up working. I did have a father figure that actually loved and supported and cared for me, was always there, and didn't ghost me or didn't stand me up, said what he was going to do and did it and followed through. Or the other option would be, he isn't there, but my stepdad did the same thing. He would have chose to be the father figure that I needed growing up. He would have chose to take me in as his own, treat me with love, respect, support, all the things, being protective. That didn't happen. So when I am in a grief-filled day, and I see my husband is the best dad, the dad that I wanted as a kid to my kids, I am both extremely happy, proud, but I am hurt because I never got that. And two things can be true at the same time. You can feel happy about your life and also sad that how it turned out wasn't what you expected. But that also goes with me. I chose differently for my kids. I wanted to be the best mom that I could be for my kids. So when I see myself giving my kids what I never got, I am so proud of myself, because that is extremely hard to do. To push all your triggers aside, to push all your pain aside, and to come to the surface to your kid and show up with love, compassion, all the things you didn't get. I am extremely proud, but I'm also hurt at the same time. I wish my mom showed up like that. I wish I had a dad that showed up like that. My life could have been so different, but it's not. So I had to make the change for my kids. I want their life to be different. I want to see what it would have been like had I had that same upbringing, what my self-esteem would have been like, how different life would have been like. One thing I've learned is when I'm parenting my kids, I let my inner child shine through as much as I possibly can. And it's never failed me. I am both my kids' mom as well as I'm their friend. There is a time where I need to parent, but there's a time where I also can show up as a kid and have fun with them. It's not all the time that I need to be stuck in parent mode. That's what makes life interesting and fun and light, not controlling. You're leading this life and you're living this life with your children. It shouldn't be against your children. So any decisions that I do make, I let my inner child come through. If I was that age, what would I have wanted in that moment? That's what makes me come up with a bunch of ideas for my kids. And it's not a chore. It's something fun. I let my inner child shine through in those moments. Like when I take them out on special dates, each alone or separate, or we have a yes day where we allot maybe half the day or a certain amount of time where anything that they want to do, we say yes. It is super fun. It can be expensive, depending, but I think you need to put boundaries on it, because otherwise their imagination runs wild, right? So the boundaries part is good. You can set a boundary of like a limit of how much you want to spend and let their imagination run wild with that cap. Also, what we've done is I would cut out cards and put on the flashcards different places where we could go or different places we could eat and stuff like that. I would have a bunch of cards and I'd be like, okay, pick the place we're going to go next. And they would blindly pick a card and it would say, oh, we're going here, right? They loved that idea. That was such a good idea. They ask for it quite often still. But letting your inner child come out and run wild lets your imagination come out. and your creativity. And your creative side comes out. My children absolutely love it. I bake with them often. Anytime I could spend one-on-one time with them or even together, they love it. There's only so many years that we have with our kids before they're eventually going to grow up and not want to be around us as much. My oldest is going to be 8, and I already thought that it was coming. The older he gets, he doesn't want to spend more time with me because there's, Nintendo Switch or TV or anything like that, right? But I think that it has everything to do with parenting. I just thought that was inevitable, that they won't want to spend as much time with us anymore. But my oldest has proved me wrong. He will say, "Can you come lie with me? Can you come beside me and lay down? Can we spend some time together?" Yes, of course. Yes. When I grew up, I was a bedroom kid where I would spend my time in my bedroom, close the door, and be by myself, whether watch TV or color or whatever. But my parents didn't come in to check up on me. So whenever I was in my room, that was it. My parents had their time together, and my brothers were downstairs playing on the computer. Everyone had their own time. But my parents didn't go the step forward and like check up on us or, hey, maybe we should spend some time together. That didn't happen. We were either basement kids or bedroom kids, and we were out of their hair. So that was great. But that's why we, as kids growing up, didn't want to be around our parents. For me personally, it was because I felt unwanted. So you're not going to want to be around the people who you assume don't want to be around you. Just makes sense. But my kids know that I want to be around them. If I'm checking in on them, that means I'm interested in what they're doing. I want to be around them, but if they want their space, I'm willing to give that to them as well. But if they're going to ask for me, I am 100% going to do it. Not all the time, right? I've noticed that when we get busy into our daily routines, we forget what matters most because we're in it. We're like zoned in into the day. It's almost like you're in a cycle and in the routine for so long, you kind of forget and it goes off to the wayside. But that's normal because you're like, okay, I wake up and I work out, and then the next thing is this, and then the next thing is I got to do lunches, and you're in this routine. If you're in it for so long, you forget to take a step back and be like, okay, I need to spend some time with my kids. My kids are good reminders for me to take a step back, take a breather, slow down. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Let's catch up. My kids are good reminders for that. Another good technique that we've used is called the love meter. I told my kids from a young age that we all have a love meter. It's basically like our cup, and it calculates how much love we have in our system. So now my kids will say to me, "Mommy, my love meter is down." And that will take me out of my routine and be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I haven't been around to, maybe give you as many hugs or cuddles or anything that you need for a while. Oh my gosh, yes. But it doesn't give me that shame or guilt. It just reminds me of what matters most. And immediately I'll be like, oh my gosh, do you need a hug right now? Over time, when we implemented this when I think my oldest was maybe 2 or 3. We were just so busy in it, in life, and you forget. So then we implemented the love meter. It's even for me too. And it's good for in my marriage, because then it takes us a step out and it gives us time to like, okay, I'll give you a hug, or I need a hug too. And it makes you come home to yourself to be like, what do I need right now? What do they need right now? What do you need right now? Instead of just the craziness of life and the never-ending cycle. And then you just become kind of just in it and disconnected. In my family, I wanted my family to be the most connected, the most loving, because I didn't grow up in that. There was no connection in my house when I was growing up. Every man for themselves. So if I could create a family with the most love and the most connection, my life's wonderful. That's what we have now. So the love meter, if I'm getting wrapped up into the routine, my kids will be like, hey, my love meter's down. Okay, do you need a hug right now? What do you need from me? and I can try and give that to you, but also have boundaries too. If I'm cooking and my oldest says to me, can you come lay with me? Obviously, I'm going to have to put in a boundary like, hey, I'm cooking right now so that we can all eat as a family. But how about later I lay down with you? Because every bit of connection with your kids means the most to them. If I can remember back to my childhood, that would have meant so much to me if my mom came on her own will to ask me how my day was, sit with me, talk about my day, like she's interested in me. That would make me feel great. The connection that you have a family that truly wants you there. You're not a burden. You're wanted, you're loved, you're heard, you're safe. Another one to go with that is when I was growing up, there was no apologizing. So anytime if my parents made a mistake or something happened, there was no apology, but the child had to apologize. We're not perfect parents. We've made mistakes. We still make mistakes. But I learned in therapy that even if you make a mistake in parenting, the repair means more than the mistake that you made. So apologizing, sitting your child down after, listening to how they felt when you made that mistake, and truly taking it in without jumping in and defending yourself, truly taking it in, listening to what they have to say, and validating them is huge, huge. Saying, I understand that when I did this, it hurt you or it made you feel this way, and I am truly sorry. I will try not to do that ever again. Oh my God, imagine if I got that growing up, how safe I would feel in that house. And it is not losing control for a parent. Apologizing to your child, you don't lose control, you gain connection. Whenever I need to apologize to my child, all I can hear is a voice in my head, which is my stepdad's, that says, the minute you apologize to your child, you lose all control and they will walk all over you. It is not true. That is the most untrue thing I've ever heard. Speaking from experience, because I was scared when I first started going to therapy and we were talking about our parenting issues. When our therapist said, hey, did you know that you can apologize to your child and you're not going to lose control? You're just going to gain connection and love, and everyone's going to feel more safe and you're going to feel better. Because yeah, you sit with a lot of shame and guilt because you don't want to hurt your kids. Nobody wants to hurt their kids, but everybody does at some point. That's inevitable. You're going to make a mistake. We're human, but the repair is the most important part. Because when I first started having kids, I was like, I don't want to screw up their life. I don't want their life to be like mine. I don't want them to hate me when they're older. My therapist said, nobody does. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants what's best for their kids, but it's hard to take accountability for your actions because your body is filled with the shame and guilt and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. But if you take away that emotion and you sit there and you truly listen to your child or whoever it is, and you go, oh my gosh, I know how that would make you feel, and I am so sorry for that. I will try to never do that again. Huge. When my therapist sat me down and said, how would that make you, like, can you put yourself back to when you were like, say 5 and your parent did something unfair or that you found unfair? After a little bit of time went by, your parent came into the room and sat down and said, can you tell me what happened from your point of view? And they truly listened, took it in, validated you, apologized for that. That would have made me feel so safe. And I see it with my kids because something as simple as apologizing for yelling or raising your voice is huge for your kid. That may seem something like, oh, I flew off the handle. They'll get over it. Kids are resilient. Yeah, but they need to hear from you that everyone makes mistakes. So they don't put themselves in this. Parents don't make mistakes. So if I make a mistake, I'm a bad person. That doesn't happen. If you show your kids how human you are, tell them that everybody makes mistakes and I'm here to acknowledge my mistake and apologize for it. I mean, I still do that to this day with both my kids. And what's their reaction? Let me tell you. Sometimes my kid will tear up. Sometimes my kids will start crying because they feel understood. And every time, my kids will give me a giant hug after and tell me how much they love me every single time. That's how I know I'm doing the right thing. That's how I know I'm parenting the right way. I'm on the right path. I'm doing I don't want my kids to grow up in a house with no connection and then they feel alone and that they have to do life alone and figure it out all on their own. Life is hard enough. For them to know that they always have their parents to come to, then I'm good with where my life is going. They know they're not going to be rejected if they need a hug because their day was hard, and that they aren't going to be judged because they're a child, and maybe their day being hard is obviously going to be different from my day being hard, but it doesn't mean that their day wasn't hard. It looks different. Their days will look different. They don't live an adult life. They live a child life. We need to put ourselves in their shoes because their day being hard, it actually matters. And to not belittle it and make it as if it's nothing just because to an adult it's nothing. But it was something when we were that age. Wouldn't we want our parent or our guardian who's supposed to be supportive and loving to acknowledge that it was hard and hear and listen to it and be heard and be supported and comforted? Wouldn't our life have been so much better? Mine would have, for sure. Parenting taught me to not have a guarded heart. My heart was very guarded to everyone. I didn't want to be hurt. But to my kids, those are the people that you should have an open heart with. For me to be vulnerable with my kids is huge. There's so much safety there. There's so much connection there. There's so much love there. They'll feel it too. If you're guarded and only there a little bit or half in because you're scared your child is going to hurt you, your child's going to feel that. And maybe they're going to feel like they're the problem. They're unwanted. There's something wrong with them. So I learned to open my heart fully, see them for who they are, have the full connection. When you show up with love, you're winning. Can't go wrong. So for me, parenting with grief and trauma has been a long, hard journey. To choose a different path from what my parents chose is also hard. Because for me personally, I'm looked at very differently from my family. The people in my family have all turned their backs. All but 4. I have 4 family members that I still occasionally talk to who are fully supportive. They show their love, but everyone else have turned their backs based off of the path I chose to go down with how I run my life. To go through life like that, plus trying to parent with grief and trauma, and so that it doesn't hurt your children, is hard. But it's also a good thing because you know that you're going in the right direction. Even though all those people turned their backs on me because I didn't conform to their ways of doing things better, I know I'm on the right path when my children don't have to wonder, question if they're being loved. I know just by feeling all the connection that we have in the house and all the love that I am going down the right path, regardless of how many people I may have in my life still. Create your own path. Your kids will follow. What they see and what you model for them, they will use in their life. They will use with their kids down the road. And hopefully they will change the mistakes that I've made and make it better. I won't look at that as competition or, them thinking I'm a terrible parent. Not at all. They're learning from me. Yes, I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm hoping that they're going to learn from that and then make it better. And then the cycle goes on and on and on in a good way instead of the cycle going on and on and on in a bad way. Everything in life is a choice. You chose to have the children. They didn't have that choice. So now it's up to you to choose for their life to be even better than yours. Thank you for joining me on Navigating the Mess. Hopefully some of this resonated with you. If so, please hit the like and subscribe button or leave a comment. I would love to share the comments every episode. See you next week, same time, same place.